Hello, my name is Elizabeth Harvey, and this is my video presentation for human sexuality for week 5. And today I will be discussing the book titled Come As You Are, The Surprising New Science That Will Transform Your Sex Life by Dr. Emily Nagoski. I have not read this book in its entirety. I'm only on chapter 2. I'm listening to it on Audible in my commutes to work. And so far it is absolutely phenomenal and I'm learning so much. And one of the main objectives of this book is to normalize sexuality. And she does a beautiful job of I don't know about in the written text, but just in the audio book, describing biology in a really amazing and kind of fun, whimsical way that she has about her. And then the book is obviously very sex positive. So in our weekly readings for the content this week from Donaghue, from Sex Outside the Lines, chapter 2, on page 29, when he's talking about the models of sex, specifically the pleasure model and the sexual health model, those both really correspond with Dr. Nagoski's approach. The pleasure model from Donaghue states that the model frames sex as fluid, non-anatomically and non-genitally based, meaning there is no wrong way to do it and no lens of dysfunction through which to view it. This model has no goal for sexuality but the pursuit of pleasure. And then the sexual health model is this model frees individuals by allowing them to have sex for reasons of their choosing, which can include recreation, pleasure, relationship, and intimacy building and strengthening, procreation, profit, and work. It allows for the expression of one's full authentic arousal constellation. Limits on sexuality are avoided and treated as limits on individual freedoms. And this model includes the belief that we are not free as long as we cannot decide the conditions under which we are sexual. I think that in general, those approaches, those models really correspond with Dr. Nagoski's approach and her research and her overall message of just sex positivity, becoming really comfortable and familiar with your own anatomy. She walks you through sort of a prompt and an exercise to look at your own genitals and be familiar with your own anatomy, that there's one thing to know where the clitoris is, but it's another thing to know where your clitoris is, and that is empowering. And she also goes on to explain the concept, like I mentioned, of there being no such thing as a sex drive, that biologically we have this need, right? This basic physiological need for food and water and sleep, and that there is no physiological need to have sex. Yes, as a species, we need to procreate to further our existence, but that we don't have a sex drive like we do for hunger or thirst, which I think is really interesting. So it's more about our nervous system and the concept of accelerator and brakes, which is super interesting. I'll expand on that just a little bit here in a second. Nagoski encourages women to embrace their bodies and investigate masturbation and exploration of their own pleasure. This book is predominantly addressing women's bodies, female bodies. I really hope that someday she writes another book with more of a male body perspective. There's obviously so much that is relevant for both male and female bodies, but this is very much written to female bodies for the most part. Although I think it's for everybody. Everyone should read it. So she explains the brain function of sexuality and having a gas pedal or accelerator and sexual brakes, and that stress is one of the biggest brakes, and how everyone can have sort of the same system. Like we have our nervous system of a parasympathetic and a sympathetic system, and that everybody's functions a little bit more uniquely. And so I'm still learning, but that is really cool to understand, and that is what she mentions being a really empowering and important way to improve or to understand your sexuality, and your sexual function, and how your body responds to stimulus. So also our textbook, the Handbook of Human Sexuality and Counseling, Come As You Are, and the handbook also talk about context and our developmental influences, neurological influences, and sociocultural influences. She talks a lot about this as well, and our culture and our biology and neurochemistry and all of that. And then the two peer-reviewed journal articles that I found about desire, which is in the same vein, were interesting. So one talks about the goal of sex, and the other one talks about sexual desire discrepancy. And I will reference them. So the one about engaging in sex and the goal of sex is called Sex Drive, Theoretical Conceptualization and Meta-Analytic Review of Gender Differences. And it says that women are more likely than men to engage in sex to enhance commitment and express love for their partners. And these lines of research suggest that women's sexual desire may be more sensitive than men's to relationship dynamics, and in particular to women's goals for the relationship. Off the cuff, I actually kind of just like push back against that. I think that I suppose the research speaks for it, but I think that men are just as interested in the relationship dynamics as women are. I think there's a lot of assumptions there, but the research says, so we'll go with that. And then the other article was, oh, I'm so sorry. The titles I got flipped. So the one I just read about the goal of sex is called Maintaining Sexual Desire in Intimate Relationships, the Importance of Approach Goals. And then the other one is Sex Drive, Theoretical Conceptualization and Meta-Analytic Review of Gender Differences. And that one is about sexual desire discrepancy. And something important I found there was in sexual desire discrepancy, leading to an interdependence dilemma in which both partners may feel that they need to leave their comfort zone. So partners with lower sex drive may engage in sex more often than they would like, and partners with stronger sex drive may end up having sex less often than they would like. And as a result, both partners may question their compatibility with their partner in a potentially key aspect of their relationship. So I thought this was really interesting in relationship to what Nagoski talks about with brakes and accelerators. And even though she says there is no such thing as a sex drive, this concept of us all having sort of our different comfortability and desire for sex, and then the dilemma of compatibility with your partner. So I'm right at 9 minutes and 35 seconds. So I am finding this to be super interesting. I'm loving Come As You Are. It's great. So that is my video presentation. Thanks, everybody.